Akira instantly recognized the man before him, a fellow hitman, and not just any assassin, but the infamous silent assassin himself. Of all the opponents he could have crossed paths with, fate had placed a legend in his way. Competing for the same mark felt like a cruel joke, but Akira refused to give in. Both of them had chosen this life, and he had no intention of yielding his target. He attacked first, unleashing a flurry of precise blows. He knew his strikes had landed more times than his opponents, but against someone of this caliber, it made no difference. Misfortune, it seemed, followed him everywhere. After school, Tsukasa barely had time to step out into the hallway before his classmates surrounded him with cheerful energy. "Tsukasa-kun! We're going shopping and then heading to a cafe. Wanna come?" He offered them a polite, regretful smile. He still had club budgets to finish, another duty of the student council. They groaned playfully in disappointment. Tsukasa promised he would accompany them next time, earning warm thanks from Hosoyama, who was always quick to lend a hand herself. She insisted she simply hated leaving tasks undone. Nearby, Yuki fretted over their English teacher's strange jokes, unsure whether they were meant to be funny. Tomoya teased him for worrying about something so trivial, then was reminded he had practice. With a grin, he showed off his new bamboo sword. A conversation about books erupted soon after, drifting into discussions of isekai stories and their favorite free reads. Laughter carried through the classroom. But when someone asked who Nanase had been speaking with earlier and Akira's name came up, the group fell into a puzzled silence. Oda Akira? Has he always been in our class? He's never really stood out. Akira knew that better than anyone. He lived on the fringes of the room, unnoticed. When someone finally spoke to him earlier, it had felt like a minor crisis, eyes suddenly on him when he hadn't prepared for the attention. But that fleeting anxiety was soon eclipsed by something far more real. The world around them suddenly cracked open. A violent distortion swallowed their classroom. Confusion and fear erupted as the students found themselves in a foreign chamber. Robed figures approached, announcing a royal proclamation. Students shouted questions, demanded answers, and wondered if these men were simply performers in costume. But the strangers insisted the summoning was real. This was the world of Morrigan, located in the human kingdom of Redis. Demons threatened their lands, and only a hero from another world possessed the power to defeat the demon lord. Excitement and disbelief mingled in the air as each student placed a hand on a crystal ball to reveal their class. An animal trainer, a disenchanter, a knight, a healer. One by one, roles emerged. Tsukasa stepped forward next, revealed to be the hero, a result no one found surprising. His exceptional stats drew awe from everyone gathered. Yet as Akira quietly observed his peers, he felt the weight of his own knowledge. His stats were far beyond what they should be. Revealing them now would only draw suspicion. He whispered the name of a skill, Conceal Presence, and slipped from sight. That night, as the others settled into their rooms, Akira wandered the castle unnoticed. Knights spoke freely in the corridors, believing themselves unseen. Their words revealed hidden schemes, forbidden archives, and intentions far from noble. Akira returned to his room, certain now that something sinister loomed beneath the kingdom's polished exterior. He dressed in the assassin's attire provided for him, then ventured outside to test the limits of his amplified body. The unfamiliar world stretched out before him, strange, vibrant, and undeniably real. When he returned, however, a knight with unusual, heat-detecting eyes stood waiting. Despite Akira's concealed presence, the man could see him. But instead of raising an alarm, the knight introduced himself. Commander Saren Mithray. He spoke calmly, offering cooperation instead of suspicion. He hinted at complications within the kingdom, suggesting Akira had nothing to fear from him. Thus began an unexpected alliance in the shadows. Days passed, filled with relentless training and quiet observation. Akira learned of the world's races, continents, magic, and dangerous political undercurrents. Saren became both mentor and confidant, guiding him through skill training while shielding him from palace scrutiny. In time, Saren revealed even more about the archives, the brewing coup, and the king's fragile mental state. He believed the kingdom's ruler intended to change the rules of their world no matter the cost. Akira remembered the night of their summoning. He had stood behind the king, close enough to kill him. But he hadn't. Something held him back. Saren told him he had made the right choice. Killing carried a heavy burden, one that could stain his return home forever. His family, his mother and little sister, deserved to see him come back untainted. No one had ever spoken about his life with such understanding. No one had ever praised him for his caution, his thoughtfulness, or the quiet endurance that had shaped him. For the first time, Akira felt truly seen. He agreed to consider helping with the coup, but only if it could be carried out peacefully. The month passed quickly. When the time came for their first expedition, the heroes were celebrated with cheers. Among the crowd, however, one stranger watched with narrowed eyes. He hinted at sacrifices made for their summoning, terrible costs none of them yet understood. Their journey into the great labyrinth of Cantonin began with determination, but quickly devolved into chaos. Monsters appeared where they shouldn't. A powerful minotaur emerged far above their level.
Tsukasa fought valiantly, but succumbed to a curse. Panic tore through the group as they struggled to contain the threat. Akira stepped forward despite his broken arms, refusing to let his classmates fall. When Saran reached him, they exchanged a knowing glance. Akira prepared the dangerous technique he had been saving. With Saran's signal, he activated his shadow magic. The real battle began. The battlefield still trembled with lingering traces of magic as the shadowy construct dissolved into drifting embers. Akira stood amidst them, breathing hard, his body pushed far beyond its limits. The spell he had unleashed consumed strength without mercy, and the toll of channeling something so volatile pressed heavily on his chest. Even so, he remained standing. He had survived. Commander Saran approached through the haze, his expression steady but touched with relief. The man surveyed the aftermath, noting how every member of the expedition had returned alive. It was a victory, one earned not through luck, but through the desperate effort Akira had summoned in the final moments of the fight. Though the boy's body trembled from exhaustion, Saran regarded him with quiet approval. The commander had watched the spell nearly spiral out of control during practice, had seen how unstable and dangerous it could be. Yet Akira had managed to bend it to his will, if only barely. Knowing the danger of that power, Saran's thoughts turned toward caution. He understood better than anyone that such a technique, while overwhelmingly strong, lacked stability. Its efficiency was poor, its control hazardous. It was a blade that could cut its wielder just as easily as it could strike an enemy. The commander resolved that they would need to be careful in the future. No amount of success could disguise the unpredictable nature of the magic Akira carried. The commander's gaze shifted, his hand settling on a long package wrapped in cloth. With a motion of quiet purpose, he presented the weapon to Akira. Within the wrapping lay a katana, forged by the very first hero who had once saved this world. Its polished surface and unusual shape reflected a legacy far older than either of them. Once unwrapped, the blade revealed an inscription near the hilt, ancient characters etched with reverence. Akira traced the markings with his eyes, ensuring the presence of history within each carved line. Its name, Yado no Kami, whispered of a past filled with courage and burden. Words inscribed beneath it expressed a wish from the original hero to the one who would someday inherit the blade, a hope that the sword might guide its successor in times of need. Saran, too, wondered what sort of man that distant hero had been and how he had faced the battles of his own era. Their brief moment of quiet reflection did not last long. As the expedition returned to the city, Saran examined the lingering traces of an unbroken curse that had tormented their hero, Tsukasa. The power behind it was too potent, too persistent for ordinary magic. Saran, with the intuition gained from years spent navigating the darkest corners of the kingdom, recognized the shape of the disturbance. Something, or someone, with influence had maintained the curse despite their attempts to undo it. That suspicion led him into the palace that night, where shadows clung to the walls like silent watchers. In the princess's private chambers, a presence lingered, one steeped in ancient malice. There, hidden behind layers of enchantment, dwelled the source of the curse. a witch with an unyielding devotion to the king. Her power twisted the will of others, remaking them in the image of her master's desires. Saran confronted the truth with quiet resolve. It was clear that those who resisted the king's influence met grim ends. The witch's power was not born of malice alone, but of absolute obedience, an unwavering loyalty that had consumed her very identity. The names of cursed students were recorded in Saran's mind: Ryusuke Oka, Sakura Inoue, Natsumi Sakata. He gathered this information and returned to Akira, his expression grave. He informed the boy that the princess had lost herself entirely to the king's will. Conversations with her were fruitless. She was a puppet now, controlled by curses so precise that even Saran hesitated to confront her directly. For Akira, he advised caution, not merely avoidance, but distance. The princess could curse anyone except the hero. And Akira, who had never revealed his status, was invisible to her magic.